Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey everybody, it looks like you all beat me into the live stream. You got here before I did, but hey, it's Cutler here. It's already July 5th. It's Tuesday. We're in a new month and I'm excited about this month. This is a great month. I'll take it. It really is a great month. This is the month of my mom's birth and several other people who are near and dear to me. But I'm so thankful to see you all. And just in case people are riding by my channel and they're thinking, what's that guy there for? What are you talking about? What is he up to? Can somebody let them know that this channel is about motivation, it's about inspiration, it is about challenging ourselves to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. It doesn't mean that today was a failure. It doesn't mean that today was a flop. It doesn't mean that today all things went bad. It means that we are just taking the time to see what can I do, what nuggets can I grab from today to show up a little bit better tomorrow than I did today. My goal is to always show up better today than I did yesterday. I always try to learn something from the day before. I always try to learn something from the days before in my life. I always say that, it is the yesterdays that will shape my todays and my tomorrows. So I'm always thankful for these 1800 seconds, for these moments. And today I'm going to talk about something that's pretty deep and it's pretty heavy to me, but nonetheless, I want to share it with you all because I always consider this a safe space. I consider this a space where we learn. And as we are moving along the highway of life, we're going to this place that's called better. And one of the things that I know about a space that's called better is you never want to get there by yourself. Never want to show up at the victory circle and not look around and share that moment with somebody else. I always want to make sure that when I get there, that I can look to my left and look to my right and say, I helped somebody else get here. Why? Because somebody else helped me get here. And I want to do for somebody else what someone else has done for me. All right. So this channel is about that inspiration, is about that motivation, is about that challenging. And we don't always like the challenges. We like the inspiration. We like the motivation. We don't always like the challenges. By the way, you all, my voice is on the mend. I was talking to someone earlier today and they said, you don't sound like you feel that great. And I said, oh no, I feel good. It's just this thing of mine called vocal cords. Sometimes, your muscles just need rest, just like everything else. And your vocal cords are muscles and they need rest. So thanks for those of you who are concerned, but I really feel fine. It's just my vocal cords that are saying, don't talk so much. But you know what? I'm from the country. I'm a Southerner. I have to talk. I want to say thank you to those of you who've been following me for the long haul. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if this is your first time, if you're just joining and tuning in, do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe and then click on the notification bell because it lets you know whenever I've gone live and whenever I've uploaded new content, all that kind of stuff, right? And then as you're coming to the chat, do me a favor, go ahead and click a thumbs up on the conversation because it lets me know that you're encouraged by our conversation. It lets YouTube know that you kind of like the stuff that guy's talking about. All right, I want to shout out our LTTC VIPs. If you're wondering, what are LTTC VIPs? They are the Let's Talk to Cutler, very important people. Now, honestly, if the truth be told, everybody's important, but it's just that friendly competition to see who can jump in the chat room first. So I like to at least acknowledge those who jumped in the chat room early, at least the first 3 people who jumped in. So I want to shout them out. They are Annie Cutler, who says, get aboard, let's ride. You all, I'm going to tell you something about Annie Cutler in just a moment. She says, get aboard, let's ride. And then coming in second is Yvonne Jones, who says hello to everybody. And then coming right in third is our good friend Emphy, who says good evening to everyone. And indeed, it is a good evening. Now, you all have to tell you something. Annie Cutler celebrated a birthday yesterday, the 4th of July. The 4th of July was her birthday. She was literally born on the 4th of July. So if you get a chance to put it in the chats, please make sure that you shout out a special happy birthday to Annie Cutler, who was born on the 4th of July. And no doubt while the rest of the country was celebrating Independence Day and all those sorts of things, her family celebrates her. All right. I want to talk about something that's kind of heavy, but it's really is personal. It really is personal. it, Most of the things that I share have some personal perspective. And so I want to make sure that I share that because you're going to hear me say this and you're going to think immediately, oh no, Cutler, what happened? But I want to share something with you from a very personal space. And that is how to handle what I call these emotional setbacks and emotional scars. Why am I talking about it? I am not a clinician. I want to say that I'm not a clinician, but as I've often said, many of the things that I share sometimes come from either literature that I've read or from my own life's experiences. And that's where these things are coming from tonight, my own life's experiences, because I experienced what I think may have been some emotional setbacks over the past few days, over the past week or so. I experienced some emotional setbacks, and I would tell you the origin and the genesis of it all, because in a state or in an effort to be transparent, I need to let you know what happened, because we have experiences in life that sometimes people can relate to. And if we don't necessarily share those, people may not necessarily be able to relate to what we're talking about. So I get to, you're talking from this theoretic and this ethereal standpoint about emotional setbacks and scars. But when you give it meat, then people know what you mean. So I'll share this with you all. My parents were divorced when I was young. When I was very young, my parents were divorced, and as a result of the divorce, I didn't necessarily grow up in the house with my father. So it was processing a lot of that. And then, as many of you all know, my father died a couple of years ago. Well, you deal with those sorts of things, and you deal with the residue of what all of that causes. And people don't necessarily like to talk about it, but I can't be transparent with you if I don't really tell you about the reality of what's happening in certain aspects of my life. And that's one of the things that happened. So I want to share with you how to handle these emotional scars and setbacks. And once again, I have to share with you that I am not a clinician, but I am a human. I do have a doctorate, but my doctorate is not in clinical counseling or therapy or anything. But I'm a human. I'm your sister. I'm your brother. So I have sisters and brothers and those sorts of things. And so I want to talk about how to handle emotional scars and setbacks. And what does that mean, Cutler? What does it look like? What does it mean? You'll know that I'm not a clinician when I say this. When I talk about how to handle emotional scars and setbacks, what does it mean from Cutler's mouth to your ears? Here's what it means to me, you all. It means learning how to process the moments in life that really stink. That's what it is. People give all of these theories and all of these ideas and this ideology to what an emotional scar looks like, what emotional setback really means. From my mouth to your ears, what does an emotional scar and setback looks like? It means you're learning how to process the moments in life that really stink. It means learning how to acknowledge those moments. It means learning how to accept those moments. And some people would say it means learning how to allow those moments. I don't necessarily like the word allow, because sometimes I did not cause things. So I can't necessarily allow what I didn't cause. But I prefer to say accepting those moments that stink. Accepting them means that I at least have to learn how to integrate their occurrence as a part of my experience. I'm not allowing it or permit it, as in the fact that, as in the idea that I caused it. No, that's not what I'm saying. But for me, handling emotional scars and setbacks means learning how to process the moments in life that really stink. Am I the only one who has moments that stink? Perhaps. So I doubt it, but I don't mind sharing from this perspective. So for me, it's about learning how to acknowledge them, learning how to accept them, which means learning how to integrate their occurrence as a part of my experience. It means that I'm not burying my head in the sand and act like they didn't happen. Because what is a scar? A scar is a wound that never completely heals. Think about it. A scar is a wound that never completely heals. As a child, I have had scratches and scrapes and those sorts of things. As an adult, I've had them too, you all. But really, as a child, I've had scratches and scrapes, and they healed. They disappeared. I never saw the place where they occurred. where that scrape occurred, where that scratch occurred. But if they never completely healed, that is a scar. If it completely healed, it wouldn't be called a scar. And so, how do we handle those emotional scars and those emotional setbacks? And I think the scars, the scars of life. How do we handle those? Because life is not always perfect. We will be scratched, we will be abrased, we will be bruised, we will be injured, we will be hurt. Life is not always perfect. And I know that this channel really is about inspiration, it is about motivation, but it's about challenging us to show up better, which means that sometimes we have to deal with the not so good. And if I learn how to deal with the not so good, that means when it shows up tomorrow, I'm in a better position, a better state of mind to handle it. Because life is not always perfect. Trauma happens. People die. Parents divorce. Businesses fail. People get sick. People are abused and sometimes mistreated. It happens. It happens. I'm so glad to see you all. So let's talk about how to handle those emotional scars and those emotional setbacks. And for me, I'm talking from the perspective of the fact that when my parents divorced when I was very young, my father was not in the house. And then, so I built a relationship with my father and then he died. I'm in a place where I can talk about it without just bawling into tears and bursting into tears. This is trauma, you all. Life happens. May I say it again? Life happens. And sometimes we don't like to talk about it. We like to bury our heads in the sand like an ostrich and act like things are not happening. That is not how we handle them. That's not how we deal with them. That's not how we teach the next generation how to handle stuff. If we keep burying our heads in the sand, then we're teaching them avoidance behavior. We're teaching them how to act like life is not happening. But trauma happens. Parents divorce. Hearts are broken. People die. People get sick. People are abused and mistreated. And we need to learn how to talk about the imperfections of life. And I get it. We all would prefer what I call care over repair. You know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So that means we do the preventive care so that nothing happens that I have to repair. But guess what, you all? Guess what? We don't always catch life before it's broken. We don't always catch life before it's broken. Wow. Auntie, I see your comments and I certainly will keep your mods in my prayers. I definitely will. What a perfect comment. Keep them in my prayers because they are experiencing loss. And that's what happens, y'all. Life happens. Wouldn't we love it if we could all write the script of our life in such a way that we didn't have to deal with the trauma, we didn't have to deal with people dying, we didn't have to deal with divorces, we didn't have to deal with heartache, we didn't have to deal with businesses failing, we didn't have to deal with people getting sick, we didn't have to deal with people being abused and mistreated. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we can live in such a way until we can engage in preventive care so that we have to handle the repair on the other end? But it doesn't always happen. Sometimes we don't catch it before it's broken. Sometimes the break happens suddenly. I remember when I broke my foot, preventive care would have been wonderful. In fact, I took good care of myself, very healthy person, but sometimes the breaks in life happen suddenly. And sometimes the break is beyond your control. It's not caused by you. You didn't cause it. You were doing your part. You were playing your position on the team. You were holding your end of the rope. And guess what? Sometimes the person on the other end cut the cord. Sometimes the person on the other end let go. You were doing your part. Everything in life is not in your control. It happens. So how do we handle those moments? Transparency. I had developed and worked over the years and developed a very healthy relationship with my father before he died. That is why I was able to stand over his casket and deliver his eulogy. I went through the years of healing. I went through the therapy that was necessary. Didn't cause it. I didn't cause my parents to divorce. I didn't cause my relationship with my father to be acrimonious, but I did the work. I did what I could do so that I could have peace of mind. And then sometimes, may I suggest to you that sometimes after doing the work, we have setbacks. All of the work that you put in, sometimes you all, with all of the work that you can do, a setback will occur. And over the past couple of weeks, I've had a setback. And it rocked me. I have to admit, it rocked me. It shook me for just a moment. My father's dead and is dead and in his grave. But I still had moments that shook me, that rocked me, and caused me to think about all of the work that I had done. So that is the perspective from which I'm sharing with you all this evening. That's the transparency that I'm offering this evening. Again, not from the perspective of a clinician, but from the perspective of a person who has been through this, who has experienced this. We all deal with emotional setbacks. None of us want to talk about them. So this is Cutler's little 18 seconds of how to handle emotional setbacks and how to handle the scars that happen in life, especially the ones that we don't cause, the ones that we don't create. I'm just busy doing my thing in life, trying to make sure that I engage in preventive care, doing all of that. And now you end up on the back end working from a place of repair. So Cutler, how do we handle them? You only have 1,800 seconds. Can you tell us how to handle them? I can offer to you some of the things that I've done. One of the things that I do is to remember to go slow. Go slow, you all. Why would I say that? Rome was not built in a day. The old adage of how to eat an elephant one bite at a time is true. Learn how to take small incremental steps and give yourself a reason to celebrate, because if I take small incremental steps, so with each incremental step that I take and with each incremental step that I make, that is a reason to celebrate. Learn how to give yourself a reason to celebrate. The race is not given to the swift. It's not about how fast you run it. And I know this is going to go against someone's spiritual theology and spiritual ideology, but when it comes to handling emotional scars, may I tell you that this is not even a race to the finish line? Absolutely not. If people want to challenge me and challenge that ideology, please let me know. Because when it comes to handling emotional setbacks and emotional scars, may I tell you, this is from Cutler's mouth, that the race is not to the finish line. Why would you say that, Cutler? Because sometimes the biggest part is just getting out of the gate. Sometimes the biggest part is getting off the starting block. It's not about racing to the finish line, but it's getting out of the gate. When you're working with emotional scars and setbacks, sometimes when you're in church, people say, "Can I get an amen?" and all those sorts of things. But you don't even have to say anything in the chat this evening, because maybe you don't want to say it. But if anyone knows and understands what I'm saying, please drop it in the chat and let me know, so that other people can say, that makes sense. When people come back and see the replay, they say, that makes sense to me. When you're dealing with emotional scars and setbacks, when you're dealing with heartache and failure and breakup and all that kind of stuff, and relationships crumbling and businesses failing, people dying and people getting sick, all that kind of stuff, handling those emotional scars, the race is not to the finish line. The race is to just getting out of the gate, learning how to go slow, learning how to handle it, learning how to acknowledge it. I'm not even talking about a finish line. Remember to go slow. Remember to go slow, so that you can give yourself moments to celebrate. Incremental steps. The healing of a father and son when the father's not there. Incremental steps. Incremental steps. Here's another one, you all. had to discover this. I had to learn this for myself. Had to learn this for myself. Thank you, Jason, for you just learning how to get out of the bed. See, I was getting ready to go to the next step, but that is so true. Just sometimes waking up in the morning, learning just how to get out of the bed, how to open the blinds, how to open the drapes, how to just face the day. I'm not even talking about getting out of the room, but just learning how to get out of bed. You got to go slowly. Dealing with the nature of my dad's relationship, our relationship. A lot of times for me, it was just learning how to remind myself that's my father. Learning how to remind myself that's one half of my DNA. Learning how to decide whether or not I wanted to have a relationship. Because may I be very transparent and honest. Oh my God, I could almost feel myself wanting to stay longer than 1,800 seconds, you all. But a part of my journey was trying to decide whether or not I wanted a relationship with my dad. Some days I did, some days I didn't. Learning if I was going to would I even try to engage in the practice of forgiveness, whatever that looked like for me. Sometimes the biggest part is just getting out of the gate, learning how to get out of the bed, put both feet on the floor, go slow. That's one of the things I would suggest. Another thing that I would suggest is this, you all. Hang on to this one. I had to learn with my own emotional scars, with my own emotional setbacks. I had to learn that you don't have to be totally healed to live. You don't have to be totally healed to live. Cutler, why would you say that? Because I want somebody who's dealing with emotional scars to understand that this is not an all or nothing situation. You don't have to be totally healed to live. Think of people who go through traumatic surgeries all the time. Most of the time, they need physical therapy. Sometimes they need occupational therapy. Many times they need follow-up. I'm thinking about the people in my life now who've had knee replacements and back surgeries and hip replacements, rotator cuff surgeries, all kinds of surgeries. It is not an all or nothing situation. You don't have to be totally healed to live. What I'm about to say, and I just had to process it in my mind, and it almost pulled me to tears. I was going to say, live with your broken self. Live with your untotally healed self. Live. You don't have to be totally healed to live. Doesn't mind that it doesn't matter that you're carrying the residue of your scars, the residue of what you've been through, the residue of what you endured. It does not matter. May I encourage you all to live, because I know far too many people who thought that it had to be an all or nothing situation. And guess what they took? They took the nothing. Crushes my heart to hear that. They were thinking it has to be all or nothing. And when it wasn't all, I said, I'll take the nothing. And they took themselves out. But live with your scars. That's what scars are about, you all. Thank you, Paula D. Sometimes the scars will remind you just how far you've come. Thank you, Jay Song, for you live for the process, and in the process, the healing will come. It'll come. It's just like the physical therapy. You will get better. You will get stronger. Your tissues will will recreate. They will heal themselves. The cells, the tissues, the muscle, it will happen. You'll get stronger. You'll be okay. It's not an all or nothing situation. You don't have to be totally healed to live. Look at anybody who's come through anything. Look at people who are going through chemotherapy. Think about all of that, y'all, and they're living. They're living. People going through physical therapy, they're living. People going through radiation, they're living. It's not an all, people who are going through dialysis, they're living. It's not an all or nothing situation. You don't have to be totally healed to live, not even emotionally. Remember that. And I'm sharing this again. I'm sharing this from the perspective of emotional scars. I know I want all of this. This is what I want. I want all of this, but this is what I have. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to live with this. What am I offering tonight? Sometimes it is in the process of my conversation that I realize what I've brought to the offering table. And I think what I brought to the offering table tonight is I'm offering us the power to live with the little that you have. When it comes to these emotional scars, live with the little that you have. You don't have to be totally healed to live. Live with the little that you have. And in the process, you get better, you get stronger. Go through the emotional, physical therapy. And then just from my perspective, I know my time is running out, you all, but then here's what else I would say to you. Be patient with yourself and learn how to push yourself gradually. Be patient with yourself and learn how to push yourself gradually. Push through the pain, but don't overdo it. It's just like the physical therapy. You have to learn sometimes to push through the pain, but you do it gradually. This is how we handle emotional scars. I may have to come back Thursday and do part 2 of this. When you're dealing with emotional scars, you're dealing with situations that swell and sometimes need icing. I have to learn how to treat my scars. I have to learn how to pay attention to my scars. I have to learn how to handle my scars because I don't want them to fester up. I don't want them to become infected. I don't want them to become damaging to what I'm dealing with. I don't want them to injure, to become injurious to my body. But I want to look at them and learn how to live with them. Would you all like for me to continue this conversation Thursday? Why don't you all make sure that you invite somebody to come back Thursday? Because I think I want to revisit this. Because this is personal to me. I went through years of self-therapy and moments of professional therapy to learn how to deal with some of my emotional scars. I think of children of divorce. I think of partners and businesses that just crumble. I think of people who are in love and life happens. Some of the trauma we didn't cause, some of the trauma we didn't create. Life just happens. Life is not always perfect. I think I want to come back and do a part 2 to this and just follow up. Because can I tell you all this? There I was with my thinking I was completely healed self almost 2 years after my father's death. And I had an incident that pushed me back, set me back. And it rocked me for just a moment. That's why I'm sharing with you all tonight. And I thought, wow, I thought I was so over this. I thought I was so healed from this. And I looked down. I saw a scar. The scar reminded me some things you're never healed from, but you learn to live with. Some things you're never healed completely from, but you learn how to live with. If I were healed from it, I wouldn't have a scar. But guess what? I'm learning how to live with it. I'm learning how to live with it. I'll give you an insight. Next time we get together, we're going to talk. I think I'm going to pick up with a piece to be patient with yourself and learn how to push gradually. And next time we come together, I think I'm going to start immediately with the setbacks. I know this may be heavy for some of us, but it's reality for many of us. Many of us are still dealing with emotional scars from so many things that were not in our control, that I didn't have anything to do with, and maybe I did have something to do with, but whatever the situation, I'm still dealing with the emotional scars of it. Got some relatives I have some relatives that I haven't spoken with in years. I'm still dealing with the scars. I got some things that happened and I'm still dealing with the scars. I got some things that I thought I was over and I'm still dealing with the scars. Just when I thought I was healed, now I'm dealing with the setbacks. Listen, you all, tell people, come on, let's talk to Cutler. And until then, let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Keep your heads up, keep your hopes up. Listen, I know scars are real, but we're going to have a healthy perspective about our scars, all right? And until then, don't forget, stay safe, stay sane, and know this. Excuse me. That scar came up out of nowhere. I thought I was over that cough. But guess what? I'm going to go on vocal rest for a couple of days, and then I'll come back and we'll talk more about this. Know this, that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Thank you all for wishing a happy birthday to Annie Cutler. She appreciates it immensely, and so do I. I will see you all Thursday. All right. Good night, everybody. Tell somebody, come on, and let's talk to Cutler. Are you all liking and subscribing and sharing? All right. I'll see you all. Don't forget, one more thing. Like, subscribe, and share. Talk to y'all later.